Hello there, my name is Alex and welcome to my Feb 2025 BuJo setup. The theme this time is the wonderful, amazing, incredibly inspiring koi pond. You'll see what I mean, this theme is very on the nose. Yes, sit tight, get your nibbles, get your sips and get comfortable because we are on the ride full time. I hope you enjoy this humble little February 2025 BuJo spread setup video. Let's do this, yeah! February 2025. Now, there are a lot of different things that I was deliberating on doing for the second ever official monthly spread I've ever done in a BuJo. And there were a lot of things I wanted to try because a large, I guess, driving force with me doing this BuJo this year is beyond getting my shit together. I really wanted to start using my art supplies that I have had gathering dust for literal years, all because I kept promising myself, nope, you'll use it eventually, you're definitely gonna use it, and being someone who has worked professionally as an artist before, I am an art supply snob. So all of the stuff that I have is at the very least medium to high quality. I couldn't just toss it out because I didn't use it for 2 years. No, it joined the horde forever. And so in my brainstorming, one thing that really kept, I guess, like standing out to me, something that I've really been wanting to dip my toe into for a long time now, and that was watercolor. I actually had a 64 palette Kuretake Gansai watercolor set, and I remember researching it like 5 odd years ago. They've been gathering dust for a long time, and just the Kuretake Gansai palettes are, I guess, like just very pigmented. That's why I ended up going. They were like pigmented, but like they didn't cost you an arm and a leg for a half pan. So I really wanted to do something with watercolor. Kind of had me brainstorming what kinds of things would really suit the organized chaos that is watercolor. And it wasn't until I was digging through my massive washi tape tub that I actually unearthed a koi fish themed washi tape, and it was a watercolory style. And so I pulled out this washi tape and I was like, oh damn, you know what, this actually, I really want to do this. So that's when I decided I'm gonna do a koi theme. I'm going to do a koi pond theme. That sounds really cool. I've got bazillions of random art tips floating around the back of my brain from just years of existing online and around other artists. So there are a lot of things that I always, I guess, just wanted to put into practice that it's not so much I never had the opportunity to, but I never was driven to, or no, let's be more honest, I never got off my ass to do. And so I cracked out my content planner and I started planning the thumbnails of what the cover page would be because it would dictate the whole spread. In planning these thumbnails, I did a few different designs, and it was this, I guess, like double circle design kind of thing, I don't know what to call it, that's coming to life before you, that really sealed the deal for me and made me go like, yeah, you know what, I really like the way that looks. Though ironically, because the way I tend to plan BuJos, and I could even go into better detail in a future video, but the way I plan my VTubers is very similar to how I plan my commissions or major artworks. I will actually create small concepts for every single page, so that I kind of know what I'm doing, and then I will sketch them in the BuJo, and if I like how everything looks, that's when I will move into production, so to speak. So I kind of tackle it from the perspective of an artist rather than from the perspective of someone who just, you know, bullet journals like a normal person. So yeah, and in my original concepts, the stone path on the right page was originally intended to be a Dutch door. I really originally wanted to have that be like a cut Dutch door, and then you kind of see part of the calendar on the other side. However, when I did the concept of the calendar, I just way preferred it to have the full page rather than like part of it cut out. When you see us really go through it in the next page, it would have really suffered if I cut off part of it, let's put it that way. And yeah, so I ended up going with a nice script style font, just like Feb, and I also put Nigatsu under it because, you know, koi fish is a very Japanese theme, and Nigatsu is just February in Japanese. And yeah, so I did some, you know, nice little stone detailing, and I will admit I did forget to do the shadows on the stones initially. I went back and did that like last minute. But yeah, first thing I did, of course, was I put in the massive blue and greeny mix wash of blue paint on to really show where the water is, and then I drew the rocks on top of it. And the reason you'd want to do do that is because that blue will kind of show through the rock color a little bit, thus giving the illusion that everything is underwater. And it's like, yeah, it probably wouldn't affect it too much if I did like the rocks and the koi fish first, but it just, I don't know, it just made everything feel like you were looking at stuff underwater rather than not, if you know what I mean. And then of course I do the koi fish on top, and I kind of just did random split pattern ideas to make them all look a little bit different. And then once they were all dry, I went in on top. I did like the deep shadows underneath, and I added a nice like goldish paint on top, which just shines so prettily, and I use that everywhere. You don't understand, this book needs to be shiny. Plus it's like, even though I really enjoyed having the very monotone ink press theme of January, going for a much more colourful and lively spread for February just feels right. I was kind of like ready to get out of the monochrome. I wanted the pizzazz, I wanted the drama, I wanted the wah, but like not too much drama because, like, you know, it's a koi pond. Flipping over to the next page, we have the calendar, and I will admit, out of every single concept, even though the cover very much locked it in for me, like that's going to be an amazing cover, the calendar layout specifically, this was the page that I had the, I guess, like the strongest idea about going into it. Like, out of all of the pages, the calendar was the one that made me go, yes, this is definitely what I'm doing. And what I had in mind, and what you will see coming to life before you, is kind of the months, like the days are all kind of like, the illusion I'm trying to really bring about is the calendar itself. So the little squares for the days are all supposed to look almost like stepping stones on top of the water, but everything else is supposed to look underwater. That's what I was really going for. I will admit, I think I pulled it off, and I'm very happy with that. Really getting that feeling of like the calendar days are above the water and everything else is below. Yeah, I just wanted to have that like looking into a koi pond. And of course, like I did last month, and like I am going to continue doing from here on out, just because I start my week on a Monday, because I know some people like to start their weeks on a Sunday, and hey, that's awesome if that's what you like to do. But like, I'll admit, I've just always been the kind of person where my week starts on a Monday, and Sunday is the last day of the week. Because like, then at least that way, I'm very much one of those like, eat your veggies before you have the good bit, which is really funny because in practice I tend to eat the good bit first, but like, I want to be the person who eats the veggies before the good bit. But yeah, and even though I don't have any footage of it, I did actually go in and fill in all of these spreads in my calendar after, I guess, like I hung up the microphone, so to speak. And the big event that I guess like makes February the most important month, is it's my birthday. I'm turning 30. Yes, I know, I'm old. I'm turning 30 on the 8th, so that was like, yeah, woohoo, pizzazz. That's why I really want to, I guess, go all out and just have a BuJo spread that gives me the hee-hee vibes, you know what I mean? I mean, granted, it isn't just for my birthday, it's just because I've wanted to go all out in a BuJo spread, but like, now I have an excuse to tell you guys when my birthday is, so on February the 8th, you are not allowed to be mean to me, please. And yeah, so same thing, we got the rocks around the corners to really give that closed-in pond vibe. We've just got random koi fish scattered around, all swimming about the place. Got a little like yin-yangy fish down the side, some pears, random rocks around, and some shadows under the stepping stone days to give that vibe. And of course, that's why they're all like kind of freehand rounded, and the gold is kind of the text choice for the spread because the fish are shiny. On to the next page. Here is where you will definitely start to see some changes that I've made between my January spread setups and my February spread setups, because ultimately, like, this is like, I'm very new to BuJoing, so I'm still, I guess, like trying to find out what vibes with me best going forward, so I'm probably going to keep experimenting a bit before I find the comfiest pair of shoes and stick in it for eternity. And the first major change is, instead of having a major events panel like I had in the January spread, I've gone to a full page notable events page, which is probably better described as a weekly log, maybe. I could be getting my terminology wrong, but like, when I say a weekly log, I mean like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So instead of just having all of the major events in the month, quote unquote, just chopped into one half-page section with the dates in absolute mad scramble, I've at least now split them up into the different weeks. I will admit, I have split the weeks weird, and that's just mostly because I wanted them all to end on a Sunday or the end of the month. So week 1 is technically 1 to 9, week 2 2 is 10 to 16, week 3 is 17 to 23, and week 4 is just 24 to 28. I know that like out of every month in the year, it is like the most like, what are you doing? It's literally only 4 weeks. It would have been perfect, but like I wanted them all to end on a Sunday, and just it felt really weird having the week 1 etc. end on a Friday, and just the vibes were wrong when I think of it as 1 week. So so week 4 is missing a couple of days, and week 1 has a couple of extra days. And like having filled it in, I mean, apart from poor week 4 down the bottom, they've all got some stuff already put in there. But yeah, so that's the notable events page. I very likely may continue using this layout going forward. I'm already finding it more organized. Of course, like in some of the sections that like I'm looking at, the dates are a bit mad scramble already, but like it's better to at least have them generally categorized in the right chunks at the very least. And on the right hand side, we have one thing that is familiar and one thing that is kind of familiar, but like not in the monthly spreads. So the familiar thing is the mood tracker. I really liked doing the mood tracker last month. I was surprised how much I liked it, to be honest. Like, I threw that in, and like the arse end of the January spreads, kind of to just, I didn't want to dedicate an entire page to like best bits, tea, and notes. So I was like, yeah, just stick a mood tracker in, why not? And the way I've been doing my mood tracker is just every day it's a different emoticon basically. So like I've pre-drawn in all of the color bases, and though it's not as obvious in this one because it's a very light peachy tone I ended up going with, I've done the same here. And basically I just go in and I draw the face for every day. I've added 2 extra, I guess, moods for this month rather than last time, and the categories I'm going with for this month's mood tracker is elated, very happy, happy, content, sleepy, or tired, because I did notice there were a couple of days where like my mood genuinely was just tired. It wasn't like bad vibes, I was just tired, and so I ended up having to go with like neutral or fine, even though I wasn't neutral or fine, I was just tired. Neutral and fine. Bored's got its own category, then irritated, sad, depressed, angry / rage is the last one. And the reason I've got sad and depressed separated is like depressed is kind of that like, it's almost that detached kind of depressed, whereas sad is like actively upset. So that's why I separate the two. Kind of like the bad vibes and the sad vibes, which probably makes less sense, but it makes sense in my head. Basically, it's a little calendar that I can draw different smiley faces in for a month, and I've been finding it weirdly fun. With all of my monthly spreads, I've noticed it's the one I'm actually going to first. So I figured, alright, well let's put it at the front of the race this time around. And of course I've scattered some fishies everywhere. And on the bottom, I'm trying something new for monthly spreads, because I do have a bingo in my yearly setup. So I set up a bingo in my monthly spread, because I've seen a few people do it. Their bingos look really cool. Granted, their bingos are nowhere near as tiny or intricate as mine, but I have Pee-wee handwriting, so I can get away with this. And yeah, so like I made this the middle space a free space, and I put a couple of squiggly koi fishies in there. And yeah, so it's just kind of a simpler, easier to achieve bingo. And the little lines next to it is just when I achieve a bingo, I'm gonna write the day, or you know, maybe extra notes and stuff like that. Some of the categories, I'm not gonna read them all out, otherwise we'll be here for 10 million trillion years, am I right? But like some of the categories I've got on my bingos are get a new shiny notebook. I know what I am. Have a great elated day. Take a picture of Lloyd. He's a webtoon character who pulls dumb faces. Complete a unit in the course I'm doing. Draw a picture at work. Start my Japanese BuJo. Receive a Valentine's gift. Little shit like that. It's like kind of little stuff. It's probably safe to say at least half of this is attainable, and at least a quarter of this is like easy wins. For example, getting a shiny notebook, or getting a birthday gift, or have a taiyaki. Like some of these are stupid easy. But like that's the point. It's kind of guarantees that some will be filled in, and it's just for fun. I mean, at the end of the day, this whole thing's for planning, yeah, but this section is absolutely just for fun. I'm really enjoying doing the bingo and the start of the book. I've already like hit a couple of my bingos, more than I expected this early in the year. And I'm finding that like, even if I know I haven't hit a bingo on like an ordinary day, I know I haven't hit a bingo, I still, you know, go back to my bingo page anyway, just to make sure I haven't hit a bingo. So like, I'm noticing I'm really enjoying that. That's why I'm adding one into my monthly tracker as well, like a mini bingo, so to speak. Yeah, I'll see if I end up liking it enough to carry it forward. That's me bingo. Now, flipping over to the next page, we have the habit trackers. One thing I really noticed in all of the spreads that I had set up for January was it was the trackers that I always was going to, the mood tracker and the habit trackers. They were the ones I was always immediately jumping to. I'd do my daily logs, and then I would run straight into the trackers, and I would like, oh, I want to do that. And it's like these trackers are like weirdly dopamine inducing, noticing they are working. Even though like I'm not putting extra pressure on myself to perform, they are definitely working. Like there's just something satisfying about being able to go, dude, yeah, I did the thing. Like, yeah, so the trackers are definitely working, and so that's why going into February, I decided to not just add 2 additional trackers for 2 new things that I want to start pursuing, but give it a massive full-on 2-page spread and blow up the trackers to the same size as the mood board. And I'm really freaking happy with how this turned out. And the way each tracker works is each of them have 5 different options, and that's just universal across all 6 of them. The way I've been doing my trackers is kind of, I guess, like colored in arrows and a dot. Imagine there's like an X in the center of each box and then just which triangle gets colored in, or a dot in the center determines what happened. And the reason I'm doing that is if, for example, I say the first one is dedicated to journals. I do some daily logging, I use my monthly spreads, and I use a different journal, but I don't do a yearly spread or a spread setup. Having the 3/4 of it colored will immediately signal to me that I did the 3 different things, rather than what I've seen with standard habit trackers where it's just kind of dot is a done. These are kind of more nuanced, I guess. So it's more like it's not just dot is a done, but like what exactly is a done, you know what I mean? And so the 6 categories I've got are journals, which is I've removed the category for open BuJo. I think I have started to ingrain that habit properly now. So that's just daily logging, use monthly spreads, use yearly spreads, use other journals, or spread setup. So it just helps me ping when I'm setting stuff up and when I'm doing this and doing that. Dinners, that's just there to keep track of what food I nibble, so whether it's a TV dinner or a pie, leftovers, Uber Eats or a takeout, homemade or just something that I put in the oven because I don't cook, so if it's been put in an oven it counts. And the dot is for if I've eaten before 9 p.m. Next one, chores. So we've got dishes, litter change, vacuuming, take out the trash, and just general tidy up. The 2 new categories I've got in, one's for Japanese and singing, because I want to start really focusing on these skills, I guess, as well as everything else, because I'm a greedy motherfucker. So in Japanese I've got flashcards, listening practice, speaking practice, writing practice, and using my Nihongo BuJo, which I still need to set up. I have locked in the book though. And in singing practice I've got, breathing, 5-minute warm-up, singing a song, recording singing, attending a lesson. And then of course the final tracker is content, so my content tracker. Similar to last month, I've got planning, filming, editing, posting, and streaming. And I went with those 5 because they were the 5 I was actually using. Extra details, I dotted some koi fish around the page, stuck some stones in, made it all pretty, and yeah, I'm very happy with how the habit tracker page turned out, and I think I'm going to enjoy flipping back to this every day and filling it in. It's really satisfying kind of just seeing the time pass and it fill up. I didn't realize, yeah, okay, like obviously, like I've gotten really into it, so like I thought I would enjoy it, but I didn't realize how much I'd enjoy it. Yeah, this is really fun. I really like doing this BuJo stuff. Genuinely, it's really fun. I see what the hype is about. Flipping over to the next page, so this is the final of the monthly spreads, quote unquote, and on the left side of the page, we've got a brand new shiny section, and that is media. I've got a big section for media, and the reason I've put that in is I tend to go through a lot of like manhwas and stories and fanfics and whatnot. So this section is dedicated to any media I watch, and I just give it a rating out of 5 stars. Why not? Like that was one of those like, you know what, why not? I had some space I needed to fill, and I thought that would be a cool thing to track. I guess like I'm not deep enough in the, I guess like the revision source to really start getting into things like, full on like core pile systems and massive page dedicated reviews and stuff yet. I am still very much a consume and run type when it comes to media. Unless I get obsessed and enter the fandom zone, then that's a whole different ballpark. Goes without saying that this is kind of, I guess, like dipping my toe into that area and seeing whether it's like I like it enough to start expanding and considering a media journal, or if I'm actually quite content with just having a media page or a media half page that I just fill in with what I've consumed and give it an out of 5 stars. And the rating's not going to be too deep. It is literally how much did I like it out of 5. It gets 1 star if I'd rather die than continue, and 5 stars if I want to wave it in everyone else's face going, you've got to read this is amazing. So it'll be interesting to see how I fill that out if I do end up filling it out. Of course, below it we've got a note section. I like having a note section in each, I guess, like spread, because it's a good spot for miscellany. These are like, I can put in notes like, these things didn't work, these things work, worked, or, you know, random stuff that doesn't fit anywhere else. I did notice that I did use the Jan's Tea section in the January spread, and Jan's Tea was basically a nice way of saying the worst bits of the month. I did use it, but I didn't use it very much, so I have actually cut that out from my Feb spread. However, I have made the notes section, I guess it's about the same size, it's probably bigger, but I didn't use that much for the notes section last time. So if there are like worse bits, so to speak, I can just stick them in notes, and that's where I would stick them in. Like, I would want to still record, because at the end of the day, good or bad, it's still all part of my life, and I'm all absolutely for having things as positive as possible, but I do firmly believe that true positivity is not ignoring negativity, it's accepting it, learning how to move through it, learning to live with it, and kind of reaching that synchronicity. It's like, you know, it's like the little yin and yang symbol kind of deal. Like, you know, all good has a little bit of evil, and all evil has a little bit of good, or in this case, all bad has a little bit of good, and all good has a little bit of bad. Like, I don't want to hide from the bits, but I also don't want to give them their entire spread, because that's a waste of my time. And of course, on the right side of the page, I have my to-do list. Now, my to-do list got absolutely shanked this time around because I barely freaking used it. So it got massive nerfed, because I was probably, out of all the spreads on the other one, it was the one I realized very quickly, oh, you did not need this much space. So that got shanked. Under it, I've got my goal section. I did expand my goal section, because that one, like, I had filled it. And so, like, even though I had more goals for the month, I stopped having goals, if you know what I mean. Like, I was out of slots. So I doubled up the goals section, and I'm glad I did, because I've already bled over to the next side. And, you know, these are goals from, like, you know, like a YouTube sub goal, or a Twitch goal, or make, like, right now my monthly YouTube video goal is make 3 videos. Release 3 videos in a month, at the very least. Anything more is an extra. That's my goal there. Finish your commission, stuff like that. So those are my goals. And on the last 2 sections, I've got bills and best bits. Best bits, I actually really did use that a decent amount last month. Kicking myself to hell in back, because I didn't write no caps, and so it looks stupid, but it's too late now. So yeah, because like there was some really cool shit that happened in January, so I absolutely was using my best bit section, and I transferred it across, and I think I've made it about the same size. I think it's like maybe a tiny bit like taller, but not as wide. My bill section did shrink a little bit, but like I have combined a few of my like itty bitty bills into single categories so that everything fits, and so far I haven't run out of space for the bills, so that's a good thing. And yeah, so that is the last like major spread, and of course, like every other page to keep it cohesive, I've got, you know, the koi swimming around. I went with the big water splish going through the middle this time, because I wanted to keep every page looking at least a bit visually different. And yes, that's the media to do goals, best bits, etc. page. And flipping over, we have the first of the weekly log spreads. I only recorded one of them. I did do 2 of them, but I only bothered recording one of them because they are identical. They are quite literally identical. Ironically, out of every single page in this entire spread, this is the only one that I used a washi tape on. And it wasn't the washi tape that inspired me to do this. I kid you not, I had a washi tape with watercolor koi fish in a pond, went, ooh, that's cool, and then just used it as a vague art reference and didn't actually use that washi tape once. So maybe if I do another koi theme in anything in the future, I might actually use the washi tape that inspired this, but instead I DIY'd it. But yeah, so this follows the exact same layout as the weekly logs in my January spread, with the 2 columns and no locked in dates. And I've noticed, like, just doing it, because I mostly daily log in my work BuJo. That's where like the endless sprawling tasks lists are. That's in my work BuJo, because that's what I need it. At home, I don't tend to do too much. Like, on average, I'm noticing between like 3 and 7 to-do lists a day, but mostly I've noticed mostly settles between 4 and 5, because I don't usually have that much to do when I get home from work. It gets a bit fatter on weekends, and then it's pretty short throughout the week, because most of my daily logging is actually my work BuJo that I keep at work, because I don't want to open it up and just be blasted by invoices when I get home. No, that can stay at work. So yeah, and I noticed, because I was like keeping an eye on it, and with January, I only used 2 pages, and 31 days versus 28, so I don't doubt that I'll only be using 2 pages again in February. And worst case, if I do end up going over, then I can just repeat it on the next page. I obviously remember how I did it, so it's not going to be the end of the world if I repeat it again. But yeah, so the way I've been doing it is I keep out the header, like the pen I use for the header stripe, I keep that in a little pencil case, days to the side for the month, and just every day I'll write in the day, the date, the to-do, and at the end of the day, so when I'm going to bed, or the next day, like after work or when I wake up, depending on how knackered I am when I go to bed, I'll just put in the next header and repeat. And so like it kind of becomes an organic thing, and yeah, it looks good. And having that, I guess, like that complete freedom to put as much as I need in the to-do list. Like I've seen a lot of to-do list designs, or well, I say to-do lists, but like daily log designs where every day is capped, because like it's focused on the design and separating up the pages, like the sections, pretty equally. And if that works for you, that is absolutely fantastic. But like I did notice, which was part of why last month I wasn't even sure if I was going to daily log or how I was going to do it, was it just feels constricting. Even in my work BuJo, like I don't have an example, and unfortunately I wouldn't be able to show it anyway because it's full of confidential invoice but but like the setup is very similar, and the way I do it is like 2 columns, and then I'll just assign column A to day 1, column B to day 2, and keep going from there. So each day usually is just 2 columns, and even then there are days like today where it bleeds over to the next page, or to wherever I can shove it, or to the next column, because so much stuff has come up that it no longer fits in the column assigned, and these are big columns. So that's why, even though I know I'm not going to be doing that much stuff here, so I obviously don't need to assign a single column per day, having the freedom to dictate exactly how much. It's not the end of the world if I do like 13 on one day and then 2 on the next and 8 on the next, and there's not going to be big white spaces, but it's also not going to run into different categories. And just, yeah, TLDR, I like the freedom to dictate how big a day is on the day. I like that freedom of versatility. I'm not locked in, basically. And yeah, of course, flip over to the next page, that's also prepared. And yeah, so that concludes the setup for the February koi pond koi fish aesthetic. And I gotta admit, being the first time I've actually used watercolors in a long time, I really enjoyed it. I really want to use watercolors again. Like, I've always loved how watercolors look, and it was just one of those things I've just never got around to. And now that I've finally gotten around to it, and I got to tick off a bingo card because this counts as making watercolor artworks. Yeah, it's really fun. Like, I really like using the watercolors. It was messy, but it wasn't, because like if a bit of watercolor accidentally splooshed somewhere, you could literally use water and a tissue to lift it up. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So like, I'm not planning on making every single spread in here a watercolor spread. I really want to use all of my art supplies, so I'm probably going to go through different mediums and different techniques through each month to keep it interesting. But like, I'm definitely going to keep using my watercolors for stuff going forward. I hope I do, because I really enjoyed that. It was quite fun, and I'm admittedly really happy with how February turned out. At risk of sounding incredibly cocky, I think this is probably the best setup I've done so far, and I was really proud of that door. Yeah, no, I'm very happy with this, and considering it's my 30th birthday month, I think every time I flip this BuJo open, I'm gonna be flipping it open with a happy little hee-hee smile. This was fun. This was very fun. And yeah, that concludes our 2025 Feb BuJo setup video thingy majiggy. Yeah, I have to admit, I had a lot of fun working on the setup this time around. It was an absolute blast. There is one thing I can say without a shadow of a doubt: the wonderful art of BuJoing has finally been the one thing to get me off my ass and actually make me use my art hoard. So take that past me. I, in fact, did use it, and there was a reason that I hoarded it spectacularly for so long. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy watching my little spread setup speed painter thingamajigs, feel free to drop a cheeky little like and subscribe if you dare, and perhaps even commit the great crime of communicating with me in the comments. My next video will be a bit more casual. I have acquired some hot loot. Yeah, my next video is absolutely going to be senseless fanboy rambling over shiny notebooks. So if that sounds like fun, feel free to stick around. I hope everyone has an amazing evening, morning, noon, or night. Thank you so much again for watching my video. And finally, goodbye. Ha!